Hello, everybody. Welcome to Financial Wisdom with Milan. Basically, where we help everyday folks build a long-term wealth through clarity, discipline, and basically just explaining and breaking down the financial wisdom 101. Today's actually experience we're going to share together with the Financial Wisdom with Milan 101 is basically budget and budgeting, and we're going to just separate those two, what they mean, and just a few things actually what we're going to be talking about. We're going to list probably at least 3 things that you can actually start doing today to help you actually manage your expenses on a weekly or monthly basis. And some of you are really bad, maybe even daily if necessary. I know that's kind of scary. The whole idea behind it, actually, what we wanted to do this is to share with you, actually be surprised that once you create a budget, which is a written form, you know what you need to do, how to do it, and you're going to start doing it. So that's action part of it. That's why I put it together, is basically that you stick with it. Now, it's a simple explanation why I wanted to do this, because recently actually I had a couple refer me to their son, and he's married with a couple of young kids. They're in the late 20s. They came in actually, and grandma, my client, was looking after the kids, so they came in and they were actually shocked. That's what they told me anyway. How much and this is his words, not mine. How detailed this is. So I'm guessing mom did her best, because I know mom and dad told me they did try to teach them when they were growing up, but obviously it never kind of took effect on some of the kids, I guess. But the best part and the biggest surprise was actually how glad I was to see his wife actually accepting everything we were talking about and realizing that details is what matters, particularly in a budget when you plan what needs to be paid for and how to go about it by doing it. So we're going to just list a few things and we'll go over it. So I hope you enjoy it. Again, the financial part of financial wisdom is just do it. I mean, don't wait. I mean, just get to it, basically, okay? Thanks again for joining the video. And if you haven't subscribe. I don't care if you do, actually, or like it or don't like it. Again, care even less. But if you do enjoy it, let me know. Thank you so much. So the first thing actually we're going to talk about is a writer plan. I mean, I know it sounds simple, and a lot of people just say like, hey, I do this all the time, I know what I'm doing. Stop talking, okay? Snap out of it and just put this on paper, for the love of God, okay? You know exactly what your expenses are, and if you don't, again, really, how you're an adult, I imagine, at this point. If you're 15, I forgive you, okay? But if you're 21 and above, get you together, okay? So let's do this. So basically, it's a sheet of paper you can take. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be a scented piece of paper. It can be just a plain copy paper, okay? Or whatever you have, a tablet, even if you have. So the idea is actually, remember, when you write things in, you're going to write in exactly what the expenses are. What I mean by that is you're going to list, obviously, all the stuff that most people are probably very familiar with, you know, cable, cell phone expenses, your mortgage or your rent. I know it's like a ugly R word or the M word, but, you know, you have to write it, obviously, because you know what it is. Also, the food. Now, this is the tricky one, and a lot of people get kind of get tripped about it. But the truth is, if you're honest, and I've been doing it for years, my wife can tell you, the funniest thing is, you know, since I'm the advisor in a family, so to speak, on this end, but you know who runs the house, it ain't me, so we know who the boss is. So she's the boss, I'm the assistant. I've been institutionalized long enough, I know how it works, okay? I got you, honey, love you. But what I wanted to say is, remember that if you actually think about this, by taking a receipt, again, it's not a crime, it's a common sense. Take the freaking receipt and bring it home with you. And if you ever, honestly, the easiest way to see how self-disciplined you are is to have, like, if you want, like a little box or a little thing just from going out or paying for the meals, other than going to Walmart, Costco, or BJ's, whatever. I'm just saying, again, we're talking about in the US, so I apologize. I don't know what your favorite place that you go shop or other places around the world is, but you probably have a grocery store, even a bodega, I don't care. But those should be separate. And the reason I want you to do that is because by writing it, actually, you'll be able to see. Because if you look at it, and if you look at it closely, you'll see there is a difference between, for example, like, let's say Walmart, right? I'm just putting it out there, Walmart. So we know that certain expenses will go there, you know. So obviously the groceries, you know, like food that you eat daily, pretty much when you are not going out, which will be on this side. And just for the examining purpose, I'm putting it in red, okay? Dinner out, there we go. Dinner out. So, but if you do this, actually, what I want you to do, it's really like almost, and we'll go through this in this video as well as the others. It's what they call a Ben Franklin decision-making process. I'm sure most of you heard of it. The ones who haven't, basically, we put a pro which is a green, it should be, and against, which should be dinner out. I mean, not too many, of course. Who doesn't like to go? I mean, I love going eating out, obviously. But the reason I was just pointing that out is because that's number one, because we have to write it down. And what I want you to do by keeping those receipts, you can actually add up. And you don't have to even look at it for 30 days. From the day you start, you pick your day. I'm not judging you, okay? Walmart expenses, dinner out, and if you want to put on the side here recreational drugs, it's your thing. I don't do any of them, but if you want to put whatever you spend on weed and other stuff, I hope you don't. But if you do, be honest, put them there, okay? Should be in red also, if you know what I mean. So basically anything that you actually don't need, but you know, every now and go out and you pay. And if you're not a cheapskate like me, maybe you pay for your friends. I'm just saying, it could be the case. So either way, you'll find out more than likely, if you're going a few times a month, depending who you are, if you're younger, actually this tab might be actually quite a bit bigger than this one, which it shouldn't be in theory. If anything, it should be this one that should be a little bit bigger and this one a little bit less. And the worst case scenario should be like maybe even. That is if you're making a higher income, so that will make sense. But basically that's a good start, because that's a lot of money is going to go for the expense for the food. We know that the food these days is not cheap. I agree and I hear loud and clear, okay? So that's very important. I just wanted to mention. So have, for example, Walmart, Costco, wherever you go to shop in a big bulk. We do the same. Colleen and I do the same. And receipts, of course, come in. And every month I get to see the receipts. And I can tell you, yeah, I'm not happy when I see that, because we know, like even for 2 hours down here in Ormond Beach or the Daytona Beach area, because we're living out there, I mean, you can go for dinner, and depends where you go. It's probably no less than $80 with a tip. It's $100. Well, I know for $100 I can definitely live like a king from Walmart or Costco for a week or 2 even. So just because, you know, I'm trying to eat healthy these days. So basically that's the key. So try to do that actually by putting maybe 2 separate little piles, again, just to confirm this. So number one, so write a plan, but then we start doing the budgeting. That's the budgeting part. That's the action part. So put the receipts in one pile, which is the groceries. The reason is this: I don't need to exercise my muscle. I've been doing this for freaking so long. You need to exercise your muscle. Why? Because you should. By learning how to do it right the first time. Because remember how the mom and dad taught us? Hey son, do it right the third time. No, do it right the first time. So by doing this, you're going to see actually, you're just going to be, oh my goodness, is it really that much? It might not be, but there might be some other expenses. But what I'm saying, keep the groceries if you can just in a separate little pile for a month, and you'll get a hint of it actually at the end of the month, what that looks like. It's a simple trick. It really does work and creates a healthy habit of spending on stuff that you need. So that's the budgeting part. We know that we're going to allocate for that, okay? And number 2, actually, we can see here, it's a net income that is used for all of this. So remember, when you write a plan, actually, when you do the budget and when you do it the right way, please remember, I cannot stress this enough, don't be calculating from the gross amount. I heard people do that, some of them, I mean, not most people don't, they're not that silly, but always has to be calculated from your net income. So whatever you bring a month, whatever that is, let's say 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever it is, it's your number, you know, I don't. But whatever that is, remember, that is the amount actually should be used to calculate for everything else. Because ultimately what we want is this. Remember, it's the net income that is used to pay for all the expenses. So basically, put a minus expenses, and this is the key. I'm going to put this actually in a blue, equals that's right, you see me say this, equals sanity. So whatever you have, you're going to do the expenses, or whatever is left, it's kind of profit in a corporate world, or in an advisory world, what we call in finances 101. That means you're sane, you're not going crazy, you're doing the right thing. Because this will allow us to do the number 3, which we'll focus in a second. But just remember, by doing this, actually, by doing it this way, you cannot make I mean, you're probably going to make a mistake on expense-wise. Everybody's done it. I've done it even these days. I still make a mistake. I'm not perfect, obviously. I'm nobody, again, as I said. But the point is actually that you can, once you see it, you can correct. And I think that's a lot of disconnect. I'm Gemini in horoscope. I'm kind of auditory and visual, if you know what I mean, at the same time. I like being told, maybe to somebody explain to me, but also I like to see things. So by looking at the receipts, as I was saying earlier, looking at the receipts, I was like, oh shit, I need to correct this. I don't need to spend on that, and that. Because I remember a little while back, before I got diagnosed with diabetes type 2, I used to spend $200, $250 a month on a Starbucks. I told my wife, and she wasn't freaking happy about it, okay? I'm just saying. So stupid thing like that. So that money now is going to something else, which we're going to talk about as a part 3. So just remember, so it's a net income that's very important to calculate, and then minus expenses, because now you have a budget and now we're acting on it. So because we are acting on the plan that you created, not me, you know exactly what the expenses are. And then what is left over is the sanity, and that's the sweet part. So here we are, the number 3. So basically, out of the 3 things, this is probably, beside doing all of this, is just as important as 1 and 2. What to do with the extra money. What to do with the extra money. So let's put it this way. Again, what I'm trying to actually point out at this stage in your life, it doesn't matter what age you are. Honestly, I'm just trying to be smart ass about making fun of the young generation, but there isn't such a thing. They're smarter than us. I'll admit that most times. But what I'm trying to point out is that it doesn't matter what age you are, where you are in the stage of life, and even if you're a couple, and I heard this so many times, I can write a freaking book about this, where one person in a relationship thinks about money completely different than the other person, and that's where usually the strife begins to chafe at the relationship and all that, and it affects the lifestyle and affects the finances and investments that they have and all of that. So basically, we'll talk about that. I'll put it like a 3A, maybe something that's just as important. But basically, what to do with extra money. So remember, maybe you work so hard that sometimes you forget to give yourself credit for doing a good job. Please do so. Please do so, because you cannot expect everybody that you think they're going to give you credit. Hey, Millen, great job. No, give yourself a pat on the back if you want. It's okay. But more importantly, now you know what you're going to do with it. Generally speaking, I'm just an advisor. What do I know? Financial advisor, right? If you are still working, for example, you're not retired, even more important, but obviously that extra money that you make, beside putting money maybe for repair in your home, fixing something like a car, or maybe a new cabinet in a bathroom, or, we all have expenses. I still have freaking shit to do in my house. I know that, okay? So, but I'm just saying, so you know that basically you can put extra money aside for holidays. That's something that excites you. And the reason I like to say it this way is because I think if you put money aside a little bit, like in a separate little bucket, a little piglet. I'm going to get one of these days. I haven't ordered one yet. I have to get one of those little piglets, the money the kids usually used to get from mom and dad and grandpa and grandma. Well, if you put it in a right holiday on it, or what do you call investments or savings, and maybe once a month you take that out and actually put it exactly where you want, it will make a huge difference, because that's the definition of a self-discipline. Because remember, one of the earliest videos I said, what is self-discipline? I learned this years ago from my coach, amazing man. Basically, he said self-discipline is ability to make yourself do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not, that being the key. So by doing and exercising that self-discipline this way, because remember, nobody's coming to the rescue. We should be accountable to ourselves. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If you have somebody else who's beating across the cheeks with a pickleball racket, I want a video of that, okay? But other than that, seriously, you have to do it yourself, all right? So, but basically doing so, I think what is important actually to realize is that by putting money aside, you actually on the side of the angel, as I keep saying that as an old saying, but it's true, because you're helping yourself and you don't rely on anybody else. So people will say, well, with my income, I can't do it. Yes, you can. We've proven this over and over again. Yes, you can. You can live with 90% of income and you can save even more. I'm just putting a 10% as a base that you should be saved monthly for your investments to help your retirement, or in retirement, even if you're still working part-time, either way. By putting a little bit of money aside, actually beginning to realize by creating that habit, you're really literally ahead of the probably 90% of the population. What I mean by that is like you're actually planning ahead before you do things. You think about things before you do things. Oh, I know it's a freaking novelty, right? We think about before we do things. It just sounds like a novel idea. But that's how it should be. Just like if you look at what you call one of the perfect example is what you call the woodworkers. I've seen them, and these people extraordinary, who work with wood. How many times do they measure before they cut anything? Because you cannot uncut it, as they say. So you measure it 2 or 3 times just to make sure that you actually can. So that's really important. So I just wanted to point that out. And also, we're going to talk about another one. I'll put it as a 3A. So I'll go over that in a second. And the 3A, actually, and the last one I wanted to spend a minute talking about is like, who do you love and why? Who do you love and why? What I mean is like, I know maybe you have heard somebody close to you tell you maybe when you were younger and maybe you didn't catch the meaning of it. Maybe you did. You were smarter than average bear. But I cannot stress how important financially as well as for the rest of your life is who you associate with, who is in your immediate circle. And again, I'm not judging, it's your business, not mine. But having a right partner, I cannot begin to tell you how important that is. Why am I saying that? Because if you're not on the same, what you call page, as they say, the old saying is, it will be much, much harder. It's like a swimming against a really strong current. So one of them might have, as I said a minute ago, a different view about the investments than the other person. And one wants to spend, one wants to save. That's a problem, especially long term. That's how the relationships end. That's how divorces happen. One of the main reasons for divorces, we know this in this country, in the USA, is the money, or the way how maybe one person manages versus the other. Somebody maybe borrows from somebody, never pays it back because thinking it was not a borrow or not a loan. Or maybe they spend more than they should. Or somebody got something never shared with the other. So I have so many stories like that. I know it sounds cheesy, but they're true because they are true. I mean, I cannot make this up. Okay, I mean, that's the truth. So who do you love and why? So just be careful, because I'm thinking if you're a young person, maybe you're single. Hey, kudos for you. Like I said before, I mean, like really, I cannot stress this enough. Try to find somebody, if you're lucky enough. I mean, I know we can't choose who we fall in love with, but it doesn't mean you have to live with the person or marry the person just because you're in love. I'm just saying that as advisor, nothing else. Because if you see some of the things now, I'm just telling you, things are not necessarily going to get better, because people do not necessarily change just because one person is different. And they don't change because of you. If people change, usually it's because something happened to them, or they have experience that was very traumatic or pleasant, or something they can associate going through a difficult time, going back to it. That's how changes occurs. We know, I'm not freaking shrink here by any means, but I can tell you just from what I'm listening, what my clients are telling me. So, and why is that? I mean, why is that like important? Why do you love some person? You know, like it can be different reasons. Yes, the person can have a great smile and great, what do you call, friend and understanding here and everything, but they literally spend every shekel as soon as it hits the bank account, they spend everything. That's not for us. On our channel, Financial Wisdom with Milan, basically what we try to do is learn some of the basic stuff, because once we know the basics and master the basics, and this is one of them, we know that will be the foundation for our actual independence, financial independence down the road. So what does financial independence mean? Well, to me and other advisors and what do you call other clients that come in and tell me he's having what do you call even one solid, really good source of income, or several sources of income coming in monthly and covering all of the expenses, and plus they'd be able to save on top of that. And that includes the cost of living annually that obviously government tells us it's about 3.5%. I think it's a little bit more than that, but either way, we know that if we follow these simple rules here, we again write a plan, stick to it, basically act on it by using the net income to do the expenses the right. Remember, you can list all of it, all the stuff that you know what the expenses are, and that will definitely give you some sanity in your life. I promise you. That alone is gonna. You can write me a thank you note. Okay, you're welcome. And what to do with the extra money. This one you should be taking me, because I'm saying I have to repeat this over and over again. Nobody is coming to the rescue, folks. You got to help yourself. So, but by doing this, and if you're in a really good relationship or a great relationship, believe me, Colleen and I still fight, okay? After 30 years being together, 32 years being together. But it's rare these days, you know. But we're on the same page. We're trying to be on the same page. That's the whole idea. And if you really like to have a relationship like that, it makes a huge difference going through life. So it's important who you associate with. And for the record, I know that YouTube doesn't want me to swear, but I'm going to say avoid the assholes at all costs, okay? There's nobody that saps energy more out of you than people who think they're your friends or they want to be friends, but actually they're so fake, you can smell it from a mile away. Stay away from fake people. Stay away from fake friendships or platonic relationships, because you have a limited amount of time that should be spent on fun things. This is fun, particularly this part here. So remember, but staying away from people like that who are literally like a freaking cancer, pardon my French, you actually helping yourself. So how do we do that? Well, spend time with people who actually appreciate you, people who recognize you, people who trust you, who love you, and they're actually been by your side even when you were crying, when you went down, and when you had a difficult situation. Those are the friends, those are the family members that you have. Now, do I have a family members or maybe fake friends that if I don't see them for a long time, I'll be okay? Yeah, of course I do, like everybody else. I'm not lying. And that's okay. But what I'm pointing out is, like, if you stick to the people actually that support you and they're with you from the very beginning, or you met somebody extraordinary along the way, hold on to those relationships, because that will define more of your life down the road, more than you realize. So by having a good support, mentally especially, I cannot stress how important that is, because you have to be in a right headspace to do this. If you're not, I understand there could be special circumstances. I'm not judging anybody. Obviously, I'm nobody again. The whole idea is actually just to make sure that you understand actually that by doing this yourself, you are beginning to exercise your muscle, and you will get much better, much sooner. Okay? So there we are. I hope this helped a little bit, this little episode. I love you all. And again, as I said before, subscribe or don't subscribe. Like it or don't like it. But if you do, let me know, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you.